Good to see you. Chief?
Test, 1, 2.
Is that live?
You will be rent legal down there on Belmont Loop.
Okay.
So.
And he said I'd make sure that he told you that she wasn't working from home. She just had the box in her hand.
Is it really? Oh, hold on. I just did it first. Hi, Frank.
How you doing?
Oh shit. Oh shoot. I mean, oh. Alright. Let me see here. Okay. Stand by, stand by.
Indoor lighting.
All right. It is Monday, January 7th, 2019, 7:02. Sorry for the late start. This is a meeting for the City of Woodland City Council. If I could get everyone please to silence your cell phones and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Hey, Chief. Are those still backwards?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Let me just. Sorry, I made everybody stand before we did that. There we go. Makes me feel better. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mrs. Ripp, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Graham?
Here.
Councilmember Brown?
Here.
Councilmember Plaza?
Here.
Councilmember Chapman?
Here.
Councilmember Humbert? Here. Councilmember Fredericks?
Here.
Councilmember Benjamin?
Here.
All right, everyone's here and accounted for. Excuse me. We have no presentations or proclamations this evening. Before we get to communication for items not on the agenda, our next item, I ask that when it comes time for approval of the agenda, that City Council pull consent item D and just completely remove, please. Moving on to items on the not on the agenda, we have no one signed up. For those of you in the audience who failed to do so at the beginning of the meeting, now is your opportunity to step forward and speak. Hey, Emilio, how's it going? When were we supposed to put you in presentations?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot. Yeah, go right now. Let's go right now. Sorry, we're gonna back up real quick. We have Mr. Emilio with us this evening. Sorry, I forgot until I saw you.
I know, it's all good. I've been the engineering intern for the Public Works Department for 7-8 months now. Tonight's my last night. I'm moving on to another company, Ecological Land Services, to do environmental consulting. This kind of like the last little projects we've been working on while I've been here. And yeah, really want to say thank you guys for having me. Thank you. And let's go to the first slide. So yeah, I started 8 months ago, and it's been a really good time. Learned a lot of different things from a lot of different people. Maybe starting here. One of the major things that I've been working on lately is with Travis. I'm sure he's going to get to that tonight or later. I've been helping him make the maps for his urban growth boundaries, which is really interesting. It's one of my favorite topics to talk about when it comes to the office every single day, or not every day, say once a week. And yeah, he's got really, really good vision. Every one of his plans, he's always thinking he's always trying to do the right thing for everybody. He's trying to incorporate everybody's ideas, all that kind of stuff. So it's something that I really am looking forward to seeing happen.
Hey, he isn't paying you separate, is he?
No.
Just making sure. You get one paycheck here.
Okay, but
Remember the boss is sitting next to you.
I know. But
It's all about who keeps him busy.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
it is.
that's something that's like seriously though, Travis. I've learned a lot from him, so really appreciate that, Travis. And then we can go to the next one. So I'm doing a little bit more of the permitting. Been working with a lot of residents in the city, helping them come up with their building plans, that kind of stuff. Getting more into the actual engineering part of it instead of just doing maps and that stuff. So, for instance, there's a property on Beechwood, and so I've been helping them change their boundary lines and all that kind of stuff and get the right paperwork together. Engineering standards. So this is something I never really figured out until just recently. But Tracy's been having myself and Catherine Michael Bus. She's our new employee.
Yeah, it should be noted that there's a Kathy and a Catherine in the same
Yes.
office, so.
Two cats.
Yeah, two cats,
Yeah,
all
two
right.
cats in the
Just
office.
make sure it gets very easy. Yeah.
So yeah, just been helping Tracy out with updating these, figuring them out on AutoCAD, and doing that kind of stuff. Flow testing. So part of the engineering intern's position was to create the flow testing chart, which you see on the far right there. Basically, it just measures like the residual flow, PSI, all that kind of stuff. And as you can see, we actually have flow testing going on. And then I made all the maps for what we're going to be testing this year, what we're going to be testing next year, and the following year. And then I think our goal is to have every single one done every single year.
Yeah, it's on a 3-year cycle.
Yes, right now we're on a 3-year, but we're planning to go down to 1, correct?
Still 3-year cycle, but we're behind by 3 to 6 years because we've missed the cycle. So this year we're going to catch up on all of them. So we'll be on the regular cycle again. Yes.
Okay. Good. Hoffman Park. So we finished this. We wrote the grant early in the summer last year. Hoffman Park. We were noted by our insurance company that it was unsafe for children. I mean, there's rotten boards, nails sticking out, all that kind of stuff. So we wrote the grant, and we got brand new plastic borders, which Tracy's gonna check on and touch on in a little bit. We also got chips in there and re-welded some of the parts, and they did a really good job. The Public Works crew, they're a really good group of people. Oh, Power Horseshoe Lake. So this is a grant we're working on currently. It's not approved, and we're just starting to get going on it. But basically the plan is to get power along the eastern side of the path so that when Planners Day and stuff comes, we get food cars down there. And then in winter time, when it's like Christmas time, get lights up in the trees so people can enjoy them as they walk on the evening and that kind of stuff.
I came up with it, I'm just kidding.
Interview process. So as an intern, I've never been on a part of any kind of panel when it's come to interviewing applicants. But for this last position, I got to be involved with it. So I made up the tests that they would have to take to do the mapping for the city. And Catherine, the one we chose, did extremely well. And she's an outstanding person, so hope you guys look forward to seeing her. I think she'll be at the next meeting. I shall be taking a class with her to do AutoCAD this next quarter. And then part of her training her, I've been teaching her ArcGIS. That was the best kind of picture I could come up with her G drive. They just got a file. I don't know.
The G drive is
Yeah.
the cord drive.
Yeah. So where we store all our files for the city. We're just training her that, training her with Excel. But she's really, really smart when it comes to detail and all that kind of stuff. So she's been even teaching me a little bit. She was a previous mechanical engineer, so she's good. Thank you. I also want to say, like, I've been seeing a lot of kind of like negative-ish posts, and you kind of see that kind of stuff in the media. But Woodland and all that all the stuff that goes on. But I want to say everybody from people that work in the parks to administration, they're all there for the right reasons. 100%. Like, there's not one person in there that I think is like, oh man, what are they doing here? But they're all here to better the city, and I've learned crazy amount of knowledge from them. So thank you guys, and I'll definitely be coming to more city council meetings.
Good luck, Emilio. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Did Tracy give you any prizes or anything? She didn't give you any parting gifts? No. Did you ever receive? Yeah,
I
well,
took him to
no.
lunch.
Oh, that is
I was there.
Well, you took
I
him
was
to
there.
lunch. I didn't take him to lunch. You took him to lunch.
Did you get a City of Woodland pen?
Yeah, last time.
No, like the
He got a
lap-
hat and he
like
got
lapel pen. Do you get a lapel pen?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
A
Okay.
keychain and a hat. And
Okay. Just make sure you wear that proudly.
I will.
All right. Thank you for all you did. You did a wonderful job while you were here. We're sorry to see you go, but we understand there's better things in your future, and hopefully someday you can return back to us. Come on home.
when I retire, he can come this way.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Moving back to the agenda here. For items not on the agenda, I know that we had some latecomers come in here. Since I had the sheet and you were unable to sign up, now's your opportunity to step forward for items not on the agenda. All right. And seeing no one, moving on to items on the agenda. Mrs. Darlene Johnson.
Well, the item that I wanted to talk to has been pulled from the agenda, so I'm not sure if I'm in the right place. But I just encourage the council to do an or the mayor, actually, to do an advertisement for when we do the position with the Planning Commission. I think the Planning Commission is one of the most important commissions that the city has, and I think we need to get the most qualified person there. And in order to do that, we got to see who would want to be in that position. And so it's my hope that the mayor will advertise that there's a vacancy, and I know several people that have wanted to apply, and so then you can look at the whole array. That's it. Any questions? Good.
Thank you. Anyone else for items on the agenda who failed to sign up at the beginning of the meeting? Now is your opportunity to step forward. All right, seeing no one else, moving on. Reports of City Council.
I want to approve the agenda first.
Oh, did we skip it? Oh, I did, sorry. Come to the portion for approval of the agenda.
Move to adopt the agenda with the exception of consent item D.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Frederick, seconded by Councilmember Humberg. Will the clerk please take the vote?
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Benjamin?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Humbert? Aye. Councilmember Frederick?
Aye.
All right, the agenda's been approved with the exception of consent item D. Moving on to reports of City Council. Mrs. Rounds.
Rotary does the bell ringing at Safeway, and I would like to thank the mayor and his family for being out there Christmas Eve. And I have the amount that we collected this year, which is $2,612.97, which is the most we've collected so far.
I was
We
shaking
had-
people down, I tell you what.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had a lot of positions that were not filled that we could have probably even hit
Yeah.
3,000 had we had enough people
That's
to
awesome.
fill in. But I'd like to thank everyone, and that sends kids from Woodland to camp for 4 days up to Camp Arnold, which is really, really a very nice thing for them to do. So
That's
anyway,
awesome.
I wanted to report on that.
I know it's not easy to set that up, so coordinating, it's like herding cats, I'm sure. So thank you for Rotary taking care of that. I think that's wonderful. Thank you. Anyone else? Mrs. Graham.
Oh, in addition to, through the Christmas holidays, with the giving trees that were around town and whatnot, we were able to supply, well, through the Rotary Club, supply gifts for children. There were 72 families that we supplied gifts and food boxes for this year. So we have members of the Rotary Club spent several days wrapping gifts and a few hours passing them out just before Christmas. And it was quite, people were very generous this year with their gifts, the amount that they bought per child. And we had a lot of thank yous and a lot of big eyes when they come to pick up their items this year. So that was very heartwarming to see.
thank you. Ms. Humbert?
I attended several meetings, but the one I probably want to speak to is the Southwest Washington Regional Transportation Planning Organization, because it probably affects us more than some of the other meetings that I attended. And we brought together some transportation grants that hopefully will be getting a little more money to help with some of our transportation issues in this community as well as across Cowlitz County. We also nominated and voted on the chair and vice chair for next year, and this is a quarterly meeting, so I will be attending this quarterly throughout the year and bringing back the information that we receive.
Who is nominated, who is the chair?
Thank you.
We can visit later?
We can visit later.
Okay.
I can see his face and I can't think of his name. Oh,
Okay.
embarrassing,
That's
sorry.
right, that's right.
Also,
Okay.
the VFW is doing breakfast on Saturday. Please come and help support our local veterans. There's biscuits and gravy or blueberry pancakes, and we appreciate your help.
What time?
It starts at 7,
Okay.
7 to 11 at the post. Thank you.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Anyone else? Carl?
Just a reminder, council, that we can have breakfast before we get over here.
Yeah.
VFW, put that out there.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you. That would be helpful. Do we-
Is it $8 a person, $6 a person? $6?
Eight.
$8 a person.
And 5 for 12 and under.
Okay. I'm 8. All right.
Yeah, tell what, how old you actually are.
So $4 for me.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, perfect.
Park board, can we talk about that?
Um,
That's not really on our agenda. I
not-
haven't been doing it.
okay, yeah, we can hit that now if you'd like.
Okay, park board also met on December 19th.
Unless Tracy was gonna cover it, I'm sorry. No? Okay, go ahead.
Horseshoe Lake Management, they brought in some sand and put along the bank to help with some of the erosion. Looks really good. Scott Hill Park and Sports Complex, Sandy Larson gave an update. They brought some dirt in there. They're putting in some lawn, some grass for the first field. If you haven't been up there, go up and look. It's amazing what they're doing and how it's going to look. I can hardly wait till it's done. Gorey Park, they had a little graffiti, but we were able to take care of that, and Tracy's team is really good about going out there and washing it off right away, so it's not so much fun to do it. They're not doing it near as much as they used to. The Horseshoe Lake Park bleachers, if you haven't seen, we have new bleachers down there, so you want to sit and watch the kids play in the lake this year, you'll be able to see it, or the fireworks, or they're nice. And the RCO grant was accepted, but we don't know whether we received that grant or not yet, correct?
Correct.
Which one is that?
For the ADA accessibility upgrades, new garbage cans, splash pad. path.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Square Park.
There you go.
Yes.
And all of the wooden signs in Horseshoe Lake have been taken down, and there's a couple of different people that are working on putting them back up, and I think that's exciting because they look really nice and they'll look nice when they're done. I think that's everything.
Good, all right.
Question?
Mr. Fredericks.
On Garrick Park, was it closed for a couple days? I had a citizen reach out to me saying that for a couple of days he attempted to access the park and it was closed.
What, do you know what hours he attempted to access it? Because
He said it was during the day, but he
So
didn't.
it should not have been, so if he runs into that, you can have him contact me and let me know. It should have been open.
Okay.
We didn't close it for any apparent reason, so.
We
if
didn't
was
close it for the
closed,
holidays
It
at
would have been unintentional.
So,
Okay.
is he talking about the park down on the river?
Yeah.
And you're sure that's which one? Because
Yep.
somebody asked me about Gorey Park, and it actually wasn't Gorey Park that they were talking about. I was just wondering if he got the wrong name for the wrong.
No, he told me the name of he knew that. I was surprised that he knew the name of the park because I even had to ask.
Okay.
I always forget the name of the park myself.
park we've got that you can actually close off.
Right.
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 Was it closed on holidays?
Not
he-
to my knowledge.
And I did a horrible job of getting clarification on when. I didn't go to the
Yeah,
next
just
line.
just give him my name. Give him my name and phone number, and just say, call Tracy and she'll look into it.
Call her early,
Yeah.
late, and often.
It doesn't
Got
matter.
it.
You can call me
Early, late, and
anytime, I have
often.
voicemail.
Excellent. I'll give him your cell phone number.
That's fine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Moving on to reports of standing committee, Public Works.
I'm going to defer to Tracy because she has a slide show that she's going to show this evening.
Always a winner.
And our next meeting is February the 4th, and we're going to meet at 3:30, the next meeting, and go to the water plant and the sewer plant and take a tour. So,
Nice.
and then come back and have our regular meeting, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Public safety.
We met on December 17th. Clark County Fire and Rescue spoke to hiring a new person to do, what's what I'm trying to say? Inspections, thank you. A fire inspector. And the police department Chief Kelly informed us that Officer Gibb will be returning to the Woodland PD on the first of the year, and I think that's exciting. Recruit Officer Moore is doing well at the academy and will graduate on March 6th. There was a termination of the interlocal agreement, Cowlitz County Communications Center, and service level agreement with Cowlitz 911, and the mayor signed that, I believe.
Okay. I may have.
Yes.
Yes, I did. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, I did.
Okay.
I signed a lot of things.
And then we had someone that wanted to have an Arctic Cat be their personal vehicle, that we decided that probably wasn't a good idea. And our next meeting is on January 21st at 4:30.
Some questions for Ms. Humbert?
I'm assuming the Arctic Cat would be allowed in the golf cart zone? No. It doesn't,
Does not qualify.
does not qualify.
No, they don't have enough safety issues on them to, I think it'd be fun.
The response to the fire incident on Hawthorne and Sycamore Street, 7 fire trucks. I thought that was, we got a lot of response to that call.
Chief
So
Jackson's not here this evening.
he's not.
He knew we were
But
coming after him.
It was quite the showing over there. Hawthorne and Sycamore, which happens to be.
Hartford.
Did I say Hawthorne?
You said Hawthorne.
Yeah.
I meant
Hartwood, okay.
Hartwood, yeah, it is
There
Hartwood
was
and
another
Sycamore.
one?
No, but a very large response that apparently got resolved fairly
Very
quickly.
quickly, yes.
So
It's exciting.
And I'd like to thank the mayor for sending out an email and keeping all the council up to date on that too. I really appreciated that, so.
Absolutely.
All right. Human Resources.
We also met on December 17th. We're informed of the return of a police officer, as been already stated, first of the year, and received updates on the WPOA union negotiations and also the Teamster negotiations. Our next meeting will be January 21st at 5:30 here.
Question for Mr. Benjamin. Mrs. Grant?
It's not the 21st, a Monday holiday.
Holiday.
So your meetings that you're stating on the 21st,
Oh.
22nd.
22nd.
Right.
Well, there's one in every group. Thank you. What holiday is that?
Martin Luther King.
Oh, okay. All right. All right, moving on to reports of officers. I've got a small list here this evening. First of all, this came in the mail. If anybody else got one, I thought it was a
Yes.
very useful guide. I don't think this has been out before, Government Guide for 2019, with Senator Braun on the front. All kinds of phone numbers, information, how to contact legislators, state offices, the whole bit. I did not check to make sure that the phone number was correct for the city of Woodland. I'm assuming that it is, because I did see it in here. Because that was the first thing I went through to make sure we were listed properly. It would probably. Oh, that's my cell phone. Nice. No, I'm kidding. No, but this is a great resource here. I encourage everyone to hold on to it.
I don't think I received one.
Oh, it just came in the. Yeah, it just came in the. Just like this.
Maybe.
Yeah, get after Darwin on that one. With Mr. Rounds, he's withholding information.
Yeah, did you get one?
He should have been a registered voter.
I think so.
That was good.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, we only received one, but yeah, I'm sure there's a stack. Maybe at the post office. I wonder if they might have
Maybe.
something. Okay.
Gotta go get your mail first.
That would be a good resource, so.
Yeah, it is. It's a great resource. I held on to it. Let's see. I want to recognize Mr. Frank Randolph this evening for all the wonderful work over the last 5 to 6 weeks or so. Appreciate you taking us on and helping us out. So I appreciate that, especially at 12:30 in the morning when I'm sending emails. And it's bizarre when you respond, but it's nice. It's very nice. Government-wide. I did visit the wastewater treatment plant, the police department, and public works office on Wednesday of this week. Everyone seems extremely happy over at Public Works, over at the wastewater treatment plant. Got a quick tour. I was going to say a quick and dirty tour of the wastewater treatment plant. But I got a quick tour by Derek and Bob over there. They did a wonderful job and showed me some things. I didn't take the full tour this time as I did in previous visits. I didn't think it was necessary, nor did I want to see it. But the stuff they did showed me the new screw press that's been installed. I hadn't seen that in operation yet. So great job. The facility was completely clean, and I'm very pleased with that, especially since it's right there at the entrance to the city. So please pass along my appreciation to them. And I visited with Officer Gibbs on, I believe, was that his first day that I saw him? Yes, so gave him a hard time and welcomed him home as well. And met Kathy and the crew for lunch to wish Emilio goodbye. So he'll be back, I'm sure. Everybody wants to come back. Officer Gibbs came back, right? That's right. They all want to come back. All right. Moving on to my list here. Oh, I took part in Leadership Clark County on Saturday. Went and did a round robin with the other mayors within the area. Because of our geographic location, we're in a unique position, being a portion of Clark County and majority being in Cowlitz County. So because of that, they invited me down to do, I considered it a speed dating exercise with members of the class. We got 12 minutes and did about 5 or 6 sessions of question and answers during lunch. So that was fun, and I'm glad that I went this year and was able to partake in that. Wonderful group of individuals from a wide range of businesses, from banks to schools to trying to think who else was there. Communications officers for private marketing firms. So lots and lots of folks. We were able to talk all things Woodland. So it was fun. So hopefully we've got some folks and put us on the map, and hopefully I get invited again next year. It was a good time. What else do I have going on here? Oh, legislative priorities. So legislative priorities, I'm torn a little bit here tonight between duty and reality of what's actually happening within our world here. I'm more than willing to check the box exercise, but I'm not sure that we're really advocating for ourselves this year. There seems to be some external forces that are out there that are creating the legislative priorities for us, which makes it extremely difficult at times. So I'm torn on how to approach this. So if council has any ideas or paths to make this a successful exercise, to make sure when we attend legislators in February, we're able to give them a clear picture of what is actually happening here in Woodland and what the needs of the city are from this body. I'm more than willing to have a workshop at the next meeting, and I think that would be helpful if council would like to do that. If not, we will defer to our outside resources to create the list for us. We can is it? I can't remember.
Yes.
Did we put it on the list for Saturday?
I thought we did.
I think we did. Okay, well, we can discuss it Saturday then. Okay. We can dive further into that on Saturday. Chamber report.
The banquet's coming up.
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks, so there hasn't been, with the holidays and everything, though it's going, the only thing that I think we have upcoming right away as far as any activities is the banquet on the 19th at the Heathman Lodge in Vancouver.
Okay.
And I know that our last meeting, the list was passed around, and hopefully the counselors will come and join us in our festivities and see who our new board is going to be for this year. We have new members coming on board, and the rank and file.
I'm having lunch with Miss Urban on Wednesday to discuss the upcoming year with her, so that's good.
And Jennifer, the librarian, is our speaker tomorrow.
Yes.
So come and hear about our library and what's happening and all the exciting things that are going on there.
And I think she is going to be, most of her what she's going to be touching on. She just spent several weeks in China on an exchange type situation, so it'll be interesting to hear about her experiences that she had with that.
Okay. There it is. Question for members of the chamber. Has there been any complaints from members on the city or pushback from the city for being unbusiness friendly at this time?
Not that I am aware of.
Okay. Are there any secret meetings going on that we're unaware of where these discussions are happening that the city is preventing business from happening or hampering operations at all?
Maybe so.
Okay, good. All right, so maybe the rumors are true is what I'm hearing.
I have not heard the rumors, but from my own observation, I do have my own wonderments, so.
Okay. Well, we can visit offline then if that makes you feel more comfortable. I'd like to know how we're being unbusiness friendly, so as we move forward.
I would actually like to understand that too, so maybe part of the discussion on Saturday
I was going to say Saturday might be a good time to.
could maybe center around some specific policy decisions that make us business unfriendly. I'd like to understand other things that we can control, not the state of Washington or Washington D.C. that are things that we have to do. But if there's something locally that we're not doing, I'd really like to understand what those are.
Absolutely.
I've been here for 10 years and I haven't gotten anything from anybody. So.
Well, I am just hoping that sitting on the board and taking a higher ranking seat this year, that we would like to be able to work with the city and do the cooperation and get along together and everybody do their proper procedure.
Fair enough.
If that's a
Maybe this is a personality conflict between the city and the business chamber then, and not so much the businesses within the community, is what I'm hearing. Okay. Because I know for myself, I've extended myself greatly over the last 3 years to make myself accessible to the businesses that are coming here, all the way down to taking time off from my regular job on Friday to meet with a business here in town who's looking to expand, and spent a majority of my weekend attempting to make sure that that expansion is going to happen for them. So I'm thinking maybe this is a more low-line level issue and not so much as a citywide issue, is what I'm seeing. Thank you for that. My report for December. Well, as we discussed this evening, I had you pull consent item D. The Planning Commission has a vacancy as of January 2nd of this year, and I have no plans at this time to fill it until after the comprehensive plan process has been completed. I understand that we had someone speak this evening on process. There is no standard process when filling that vacancy. It is up to the mayor to bring that person forward, and even through that process, it has not been used in the past, so I'm actually quite surprised that the complaint has actually come forward this evening that the process was not used for filling this vacancy this evening. So I haven't used that process in the past but once, so I guess moving forward, maybe that's something I should be conscious of and be consistent with. But, so council knows, I have no desire to fill that at this time until the comprehensive plan process has been completed. Over the last month, I've taken in a lot of complaints from people in groups who live outside the city limits. Obviously, we've had some issues over the month of December. We made national news with some issues here in town of decisions that I've made, but understand that not a lot got done towards the end of 2018 by myself due to the fact that I was playing referee with folks outside the city with complaints and decisions that were being made on behalf of the city and to keep them out of harm's way. Let's see here. My son's playing basketball this evening, which is exciting. I'm missing that game, so to be here to help be a decision maker on decisions that clearly I'm unable to make, so and struggling with. So anyway, that's my report this evening, and we have committee recommendations for council for 2019, and if you'd like to change, now's your opportunity to step forward and ask to be changed onto another committee. If we're good with it, we will move on and remove that action item when we get to it, since there will be no action, or we just take action on the list as it is. All right. Seeing no objections, we'll take action on the list as it stands. Mr. Boyce.
All right, a couple things I wanted to mention. With the police association negotiations, we're still waiting for an arbitrator and to set a date. As soon as I have that date, I'll inform council, so you're aware. We've been meeting with both Teamster units, both Public Works and Clerical, and we've made great progress. We don't have a deal yet, but we met with, in the span of 2 weeks, we met with Public Works 3 times and the Clerical unit twice. Everyone seems motivated to get to a deal quickly, so we will report more when that comes to fruition. With that, I've got the notices. We have notice to City Council of a liquor license renewal for Veterans number 1927. This Saturday, we have our council retreat, 9 a.m. here at council chambers. January 12th, same day, we talked about breakfast. You can go to breakfast before our retreat. January 19th, the chamber installation banquet at Heathman Lodge. There's a FVRL fundraiser auction at the Red Barn, February 13th. February 13th and 14th, we have the AWC Association of Washington City's City Action Days in Olympia. We have several people attending from the city. Let's see. May 22nd, 2019, AWC has a webinar series, Public Sector Resource Management. June 25th through 28th, the AWC annual conference in Spokane will occur. So that's my report this evening.
Questions for Mr. Boyce? All right. Mr. Randolph.
Nothing to report, sir.
Mrs. Ripp.
Yes, I passed out the report there for you. I won't go over it all and just pull out some highlights. December was a busy month. We processed a number of ordinances. We sent a lot of notices and things for meetings, events, for the request for proposal for the water system plan. We advertised the city surplus auction, and you can go to the city website for more information on that. We onboarded a new hire, Catherine Mike Bust, and she's an engineering tech for Public Works. We spent some time reviewing Teamster union proposals and prepping data for negotiations. We held our open enrollment early December, as well as our benefit fair and wellness event and our all-city safety meeting. With IT, I reviewed year-end status for replacement of equipment and upcoming for 19. We're getting ready to publish the 2019 budget document. Working on that this week still. We did send out our business license renewals and also the new business license threshold ordinance that the council passed. We sent letters out explaining that. We processed 12 public record requests and 53 citizen comments, as well as fielded a large number of phone calls a month for citizen complaints. And we are in the process of our surplus sale. The auction opened on January 2nd. It's going quite well. It closes on January 16th. And it is an auction site, so you can go out there and bid if you're interested. Council members are prohibited from
Partaking.
but family members are good if you want to direct them to that, or friends. We did some facilities organization of our IT and server rooms. That's ongoing. And then also we're looking at what we can do in the conference room over here for some cleanup. We're pending our website updates for 2019. That was passed in the budget, so we'll be doing that. We did send some mailing list to Waste Control, and they sent out the glass recycling letter. We did utility bill stuffer for the December 2018 utility bills. notices to various citizens. And then we're working on getting the November financial report to the Finance Committee at the next meeting on Monday. Preparing the RFQ for the Indigent Defense Attorney Services, and that'll be coming to the committee and then to council after we get that advertised applications. Our current attorney has agreed to stay on a month until we get that filled. And then I assisted with proposals with city attorney and city administrator for the prosecuting attorney services. And that has been filled and awarded by the council already. We prepped some notices for 2019 events and for our regular users at the community center, and we scheduled carpet cleaning and other maintenance at the community center, and I have to say it looks a lot better in there. We are getting a lot of wear and tear over there, so we're looking at hopefully maybe in the future, if we can get it in the budget, maybe to get that carpet out of there, replace it with some more washable type flooring. You know, Tracy's working at that for the next budget cycle. And then we prepped a number of registrations for the city action days and the chamber installation banquet for staff and council. And lots more happening in the clerk's department, but those are some of the highlights.
Thank you, Mrs. Ripp. Questions for Mrs. Ripp? Mr. Fredericks?
I wasn't real pleased with the waste control glass recycling letter that was rolled out.
That was mine too.
It looked like it was
We
done.
went in there and they didn't run it by us first. We gave them labels. We thought maybe they'd give them the chance to comment. I did voice our opinion to them on that. Told them it would have been nice if they would at least put who it was from.
Yeah,
So
who-
we have brought it to the owner's attention, and I shall ask them to come down and meet with us on some other issues.
See, I threw it away, thinking that it was for the recycling that's located at the by the
Park and Rec.
Park and Ride. Thank
Right.
you. I thought it was for that, and I'm like, well, I don't use that, so garbage, it doesn't apply to me. And then of course I'm reading on social media that, oh, gee, look at this world-class piece of communication that it failed miserably.
So they have responded by saying that they would in the future make sure those came before the city before they were mailed out. So we could give our comments on that as well.
And we knew, I can't speak for the rest of the council, but I had no idea that this communication was going out. And I kind of was, I wish I would have known ahead of time that that was going out. It was news to me. So anyway, not impressed with them as far as that. And then if we're doing labels for them.
No, we didn't do the labels.
Okay,
We gave them
thank
a
you.
mailing
Okay,
list.
that's fine.
Yes.
We shouldn't be spending any of our labor as much as we're writing them a check.
I just
Mr.
have a
Vice.
comment. I was sad to see that they're not, I'm really good about recycling because I have very little garbage and I do a lot of recycling. So I was sad to hear that they're not accepting glass anymore for the city,
And
you know.
we have asked them to do an update on why they're not doing it, and so hopefully that can go out and get published to the citizens.
Are there other, besides the ones at the park and ride, do we know of any other receptacle collection sites?
There's one up Lewis River Road across from where you would turn in to go into the golf course. You know
All
that?
the way out there? Okay.
Yeah, all the way out there, but,
And short of that, you'd have to go to Longview to the
Yeah.
transfer station.
Gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah, so I understand that the problem has been is that the glass is going into the recycling and it's getting broken and it's having an effect on the machines and how they're processing it.
Okay.
So when it's breaking is the issue, so they're asking people to put it into the trash rather than put it into the recycling.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Seems to make it be
not
easier to
good.
put some more receptacles down here.
And I don't
Yeah,
know
but-
if it's because Commingle
Thank God
versus
there's
some of the other cities and stuff don't have Commingle garbage like we would. We have asked for them to come down and with us on a number of different things, so we'll looking into that.
More to come. All right, thank you. Mr. Plaza, did you have something?
No.
Okay. I saw your hand go up. Okay. Stand down. All right. Chief Kelly.
So December, was our Super Bowl. We did Shop with a Cop, fantastic turnout. We were short of our goal of 150 kids. We had 147. Donnie and Sergeant Keller continue to do an outstanding job, and everybody steps up in the department to do that. Thank you for making an appearance with there, Mr. Mayor. It was good to see you there.
Nice outfit too, by the way. Good job.
Thank you.
It was good.
We had more officers than we've ever had. We had officers from Cowlitz Tribe, State Patrol, Blue Center, Richfield, Kalama, us, and county. So it was a great turnout. It took us.
Was the Marshal Service there as well?
DOC.
Oh, okay.
DOC was there. Yeah, and so we had everybody representing our neighborhood, which was outstanding. And during the month of December, I did our final Town Hall Part 3 with the Cowlitz County Sheriff's Office and Youth and Family Link. Went well. It's on our opioid crisis. It started with education, and then ended up with prevention and what we can do to give these folks some resources. I guess this one's kind of a moot point, but I sat through a polygraph examination with Officer Gibbs. Obviously, he was successful.
Well, I hope so. I saw him at work on the 2nd.
He's back on the job. And Ms. Connor also did some stocking stuffers and distribution with the folks at the Spruce.
Yes.
So it's our activities, and she continues to do represent us at the Safe Kids Council, and also with the car seats clinics through Cowlitz too. And then I took a trip up to CJTC to make sure Chris was still breathing and doing well, and he's doing well in his class. And we just got his midterm evaluation, so he's right where we want him to be.
Good.
And we're excited to see what kind of officer Chris will be for us here in the city of Woodland.
And already I know that he doesn't live here in town yet. I'm sure we'll get him here at some point, but I did see him out at the fundraising event at Spruce with his lovely wife, so we got a chance to see each other offline, and it was
And
nice.
he's also present for Shop with the Cop, so.
Oh,
that was- yeah.
that's right, he was,
Yep,
yes,
yep.
good. So he's already contributing to the community, which I love, so good.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I wouldn't have it any other way. He's going to be a great addition to our city.
Thank you, Chief. Questions for Chief?
Yeah, with Chief speaking of stuff in the socks and stuff, it was nice to see good stuff on the cruiser.
You can tell him that, too.
Yeah, it was nice to see him, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that it could definitely have some of your officers and stuff. So.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Chief Jackson's not here this evening. Mr. Goddard.
Sorry about that. Caught me taking a note to myself. So community development has had a busy month since I last reported to you. So we've had several open houses. Plus we had a December 20th hearing with the Planning Commission to discuss the growth scenarios that we've been talking about over the last several months, 4 or 5 months. And in addition to those conversations, we issued the Port Guild Road Industrial Park Phase 1 decision, and Phase 2 had gone out in November. Also, we issued an approval for the Belmont Loop mini storage project and the San Nigro commercial building project, which are both on Belmont Loop. Also, we issued a the ProBuild site, which is on Sherman Way, just south of Taco Bell. You'll notice out there moving dirt. We've been working with the current property owner and the ProBuild applicants to potentially locate their truss manufacturing business on that site. Based upon the information that they had got from us, they liked what they had heard. They went out and were doing their due diligence for the acquisition of that property, and their geotechnical consultant was doing some subsurface testing to make sure that it was adequate to support their building. And my understanding was when that site was leveled, I guess it was about 10 years ago, from what I understand, they just simply brought in gravel and laid it down on the site, and it's been settling ever since. But the problem is that about 6 feet under the ground, there's a layer of grass and bushes and trees that were all just buried under the gravel. So they had to remove all of that gravel, take out that organic layer, and they're currently working on kind of taking that out of there and putting gravel back in so that they can compact it, get the kind of subsurface structure that they need for their future building. But it looks like that project is a go-ahead, and hopefully we should be seeing applications from them pretty quick. Busy January already. I was out of the office Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of last week, and Tuesday was a holiday. And I came back to find out that we've already received 3 applications in 2019. The Red Canoe Credit Union, which is going to be in the lot behind the Taco Bell, between Taco Bell and Walmart. So Red Canoe is coming to town. Also, the B&B complex, which is another small lot on Belmont Loop, corner of Belmont and Franklin. The gentleman who owns the lot next door is expanding his development onto that lot. So it is in for review. We've also had a similar use determination. I've been dealing with a couple of gentlemen who are out of Vancouver, and they own like a surplus auction house where government jurisdictions like ours, if we have trucks and vehicles and equipment that they're surplusing, they do online auctions and in-person auctions. So they'll have a large gravel area where this stuff will be stored, or they're looking at a site in Woodland where these things would be stored for auctions, and they're asking the Planning Commission to do an evaluation as to whether or not it's similar enough to cars, trucks, and equipment sales as opposed to auction houses, which is not defined by the code. So they've submitted an application requesting an analysis by the Planning Commission so that they know, so that they get an opinion from the Planning Commission before they purchase the property. So it's a potential investment that they're looking at. And those are the new applications that have come through the door. As it is, we are expecting another Planning Commission meeting on the 17th. It was scheduled for the 10th and the 17th, but we canceled the 10th so that we could do new public notice. There was an error on the original notifications that had my email address as .gov instead of .us. And 3 people had raised that as a complaint, that they felt that they weren't able to participate in the process, and that there were others like them who might not participate because of that error. So to correct that error, we re-advertised for the 17th, and so we're kind of compressing it into a single hearing. There are supplemental staff reports and additional information on the Community Development website, so if you're talking to anybody who wants to know what's going on, all of that information is being put on the website as soon as it's developed. So please encourage them to get involved and to take a look at those documents. And that's it.
The email address debacle, I guess you could say, was that a requirement that must go out to citizens to respond to, or what is the requirement the city has to live by?
So the city requirement is that we publish it in a newspaper and that we post it at certain locations around the city, including the police station, City Hall, and the post office. So that was done. We've also made an effort to post sites, and email, phone number, City Hall address, and our mailing address are all provided. So we actually exceed standards, but because there is some argument that could be made, and we're trying to avoid appeals and lawsuits, even if they are specious lawsuits, it makes sense for us to just take the extra week and make sure that it's done again, and that we over-advertise and we over-involve the public in this process, which is kind of the intention from the very beginning. So we may not avoid legal challenges or appeals, but at least we want to be successful when those go forward. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you. And judging by the Planning Commission meeting that I attended last month, advertising is going well, even due to complaints of those that showed up saying they weren't notified of the meeting, but yet they were still able to attend. So glad to see that they got the notice somewhere.
There's also happens to be some citizens around town who are going door to door whipping up excitement, so
Oh, good.
I'm extremely happy about that.
That's fantastic. Questions for Mr. Goddard?
Would you find that the whipping up of the door-to-door, the information that's being shared, because I've had some information shared at my doorstep and it was not even close to being accurate, finding. Are you seeing that as well?
I am excited that people are calling me and requesting more information.
Excellent. That's a very PC answer. Great answer. Red Canoe coming to Woodland. I've been trying to, I know I've sent letters. I've been trying to advocate for that I've been advocating for Red Canoe to come to Woodland for years. I was in Longview about a month ago and I said it would really be nice not to have to drive here to see you every now and then. When are you coming up with a Woodland branch? And they said absolutely nothing. So the fact that they're here, that's a good thing. Glad to see them. Do you feel that you have the resources to be able to do your job effectively? And if you don't, are you asking for help?
I requested an additional position in the last budget cycle. There is clearly enough work that can be done. I did not get to any of the Planning Commission requests for code changes and updates, or any of the council suggestions for issues that they would like fixed in the code. There are a ton of applications that far exceeded my expectation even at the start of the season. And the fact that I've been engaged in the comprehensive plan discussion, I know that there are phone calls and emails that are going unanswered, or that it takes a week to get to some of these answers. I know that applications are running slow because I'm engaged in other projects and customer service. And I know that there's a lot more that I could be doing for the comprehensive plan update. My problem is that I'm trying to keep all of the balls in the air, and I'm doing the best that I can. So it's more like putting out fires than it is kind of a comprehensive planning effort like it started out as.
So what resources does the city have available to it on a temporary basis or a contract basis that could offer some assistance? And do we know what those are?
So we currently have contracts with Brad Kilby and Hopper Huff, HHPR, who is our consultant for engineering services. They have planners on staff. And when stuff does come up, I route that to them to do fully complete reviews or draft staff reports that I then review. But those are, I have to be careful when I send those to them, because the city does not necessarily do reimbursable for all applications where we use consultants. So in some cases we can reimburse, but I don't necessarily want to be spending city funds that would not be reimbursed through applications. So there are resources available to me, but stuff like code rewriting, it's either, we need a new planner or we need to do a consultant, and $100,000 worth of consulting would still not get us full project completion. So I have to weigh those, and there are resources and I use them as I can, but it's risky budget-wise for me on my budget.
It's almost as though we probably should have a discussion, I don't know, at the finance committee level for options that we can explore to provide some assistance, because these are things that are, we don't, at least from my perspective, I don't want to see the ball slow roll and have things suffer because he's balancing too many balls in the air, and at some point something's going to drop. And that's where sometimes you get the perception that we are not business friendly because we can't close the loop in a timely manner. And I don't think that's the case currently because I haven't heard that, but that could lead to that coming out. I'd just like to explore options so he has the tools to be successful and he doesn't feel like he's drowning before he even shows up to work at 8 o'clock in the morning. Is that something that we can explore?
Absolutely. I've got one plan on the table right now, but we're still kicking that one. More to come on that, but yeah, absolutely, we can look at other options as well.
Okay. I appreciate the work you are doing, and I got a little concerned when I saw that all those papers on your desk there. I thought we were going to get a tutorial.
It's just for show. It's all. They're all blank.
You had me very concerned. You had me very concerned. Thank you.
Further questions for Mr. Goddard? All right. Seeing nothing else, moving on to reports of advisory committee. I'm just kidding. Ms. Coleman. Ms. Coleman, where's your PowerPoint?
Yeah, we're getting there.
While you get that set up, are we, Mr. Boyce? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, well, this is November accomplishments, so I wasn't here in December, so I'm gonna get you up to date, and then the next one, I'll bring you up to date, next month on what we did since then.
Sorry.
Cause I didn't know if you wanted me to start.
No, oh, just one moment. We were
Okay.
discussing something. I'll
Okay.
find out. Here, right. Okay, gotcha. I don't think so. I don't think that's what that was. No. Unless it's something else. This letter that I drafted here with your assistance, are we still sending this out even though Mr. Randolph is doing research? No. This is a no. Okay, got it. Ms. Coleman.
All right, here we go. So we received a grant, which Emilio touched on a little bit, and you guys knew because we were awarded a grant. And so this is what we did with the grant dollars. So we put in new borders at Hoffman Park, and we created a ramp to go to the park for ADA accessibility, and put in new engineered wood chips. Next.
If you've not been there, you need to go look. It's amazing.
Yeah, and so so this is just kind of a comparison view, completed views of what the park looks like. It's right next to the library and the community center right there. So
That grant was, did you say that? I'm sorry.
that grant was from the port. Yeah, so part of it, half of it was ours and half of it was theirs. And so those are new bleachers. So I showed you, those are the 2 additional bleachers that we have at Horseshoe Lake. So we put a set that kind of where the dogs go and train in the water. So right as you come down to the boat ramp, the slide to the right shows the new bleachers that are to the right there. And then the one to the left shows it over there by the skateboard park. So the neat thing about the bleachers on the left is you can sit on them, you can see out at Horseshoe Lake, you can turn and you can see the entire grass field, or you can sit sideways, you can see the skate park. So we kind of placed them in a situation that if we have events, that you can sit and watch your kids doing all the activities. And we had complaints, as you know, people have come to our council meeting in regards to the Columbia Street, which is there in front of Carl Jr.'s and McDonald's. And so we went ahead and we noticed that there were no speed limit signs. So we placed speed limit signs in there and flagged them. And then we also painted the curb for visibility for people who are crossing at that location. We do not recommend the crossing, so we aren't supporting a crosswalk because of MUTCD and the engineering that would have to be done to support a crosswalk there. But we did make it so they feel safer to be able to cross there if they want to utilize that area.
And real quick, this is the second item of adjustment that we've made on Columbia, correct?
That's correct.
The first was a parking situation from some local businesses, stated that they were having a hard time
Seeing out of driveways, and so we went ahead and reduced, we increased the visibility by doing some curb painting. And then the actual curb for the apartment complex that is there, that was put in there where they believed you were able to cross the street to go over to Safeway, was actually put there so they could access their cars because of their handicap. So it was put there so they could go out and access their cars that were parking on the road, which is overflow. But it wasn't made for a crosswalk, so we just wanted to make sure that they felt safe to be able to get out and access their cars, and if they chose to cross there, that there was visibility and people could see them. And we actually posted the speed there, even though all through town, if there's no speed limit sign, it's supposed to be 25. But we just wanted to reiterate that.
So the second complaint came from residents, and the first one came from business.
That's correct.
Okay, and we satisfied both needs as a
Absolutely.
community
That's what we do.
action there. Absolutely.
sir.
So sounds unfriendly to me. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, at the end, in Merriweather, in that community, there was end of the road sign that was there, and it was deteriorated and laid over in the ground. So we went ahead and removed that, and we placed new signs and put up ecology blocks, or deadmen, whichever one you want to call them. And then we've, Emilio kind of touched on this, that we are doing our hydrant flow testing. This is a good way for us to test our hydrants, and we find out how many pounds per square inch of water we have throughout the city. And it gives us a chance to check some valves at the same time. So we did our hydrant flow testing. We were behind in that, and so we have one cycle completed, and we'll complete 2 cycles in the spring to get us up to date. Okay, if you guys went out to the Christmas tree celebration, we actually picked up our Christmas tree this year, which was wonderful. And we have, I don't know if we'll be able to get them in the next few years. That's where we've purchased our trees the past, I believe, 5 years. And we have a resident that's very kind and gives them to us at a reduced rate, so we don't have to pay a lot of money. So the Christmas tree, we added more lights to it this year, and it was really a spectacular tree, I felt. And then we also handed out, at the Christmas tree lighting ceremony, we handed out glasses. So if you look at the middle one, the holiday specs, that particular spec showed that the light was a reindeer. So when you put the specs on, all the lights on the Christmas tree looked like a little reindeer. We handed out oranges, angels. Where do oranges come from? I must be craving some oranges. We had angels and what did you get, Mayor?
Was a reindeer, snowman,
Candy canes.
Candy
Candy
canes.
canes.
It was a party.
Elves.
Everybody was down there switching glasses, taking pictures
So
and everything.
it was pretty funny,
It's a good time.
so I enjoyed that.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I've refrained from sitting on Santa's lap, but
Okay,
so
yeah.
I wanted a Learjet, but I didn't think it was an appropriate year to ask for one. Finances are tight.
And then we also, this year, we actually decorated. Again, this was supposed to be presented in December 1st, at the December presentation. So we actually put the reindeer out at the roundabout again. And
Do we have any shenanigans?
No shenanigans.
No shenanigans this year.
Yeah, so we only had one baby deer, so that was fine. That was from last year. So
2018 was slow.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. So anyway, and then as you know, downtown we had the wreaths that were put up again this year. Is that all that I have?
For those of you in the audience that are wondering what just happened, that we had some shenanigans in 2017 with the reindeer and coupling.
Yes, they put him in a position that was not appropriate.
Yeah, for Passy Motors. So Miss Coleman's response was more baby deer to go with the parents.
So we separated them and we put another deer out, and we solved the problem.
So no shenanigans and
Yeah.
no additional deer this year.
Yeah, I don't.
All right.
Yeah, but I don't know if it was a good use or bad use of tax dollars, but it was a use nonetheless.
Hey, you know what? I think they appreciated it.
Yeah. So then, with that said, I'll go over into more of the department report now. So my goal for the department this year is to make the department run smoother. So we have hired a new employee, and so we have some part-time help that we're receiving as well. We have a part-time employee that's been brought over to Public Works that has been working with us in addition to the internship. So we're trying to catch up on everything that we've been behind in, and going over our policies and procedures, et cetera. So with that being said, one of the items that we're looking at is there's a policy and procedure for banner hanging that is in the city that it has been written, but it's never been formalized. So we're going to formalize that and make it kind of fair for all to hang banners throughout the city. So we're working on that. We're also wanted to let you know that in regards to our wastewater treatment plant, we have the screw press, which, one of the questions has been asked in the past, how much money are we saving? And so we've reduced our hauling costs by 50%, so we're saving over $100,000 a year initially, and now we're up to nearly $200,000, and next year we're hoping to save close to another $100,000. So that screw press is going to pay itself off within a 5-year period, which before they said 7 to 10 years, but it looks like it's paying itself off within 5 years. So that's great news. So I'm really, really pleased to see that with the work that's been done at the wastewater treatment plant and the screw press. That's going along very well and saving the citizens some money that we could spend on other items like updating the UV lights at the wastewater treatment plant, et cetera. And then also, in regards to the February 4th meeting for the Public Works Committee, I'd like to just invite all of the council members to go on the tour at 3:30 on February 4th. So we're meeting at the Public Works Building, and we're going to tour the wastewater treatment plant and the water treatment plant. I think it's important for you to see where the tax dollars are going, so when you meet citizens in the streets, you can actually see what we're going to be doing, and you can see what's at the water treatment plant now and what's going to be improved upon as we're starting this new project off in the next month. So I'd like you to see it before and kind of let you see it afterwards, and then also see really how clean our wastewater treatment plant is in comparison to other municipalities. If you've never been to one, ours far exceeds other municipalities that I've been to. So I think it's good for you guys to tour that. Again, that's February 4th at 3:30 for the wastewater, and then we'll go to the water treatment plant at 4:15.
Just one moment, Tracy. And if you do decide to go, please let us know in advance so we can notice the meeting if a quorum's present. So, thank you. Sorry.
No.
We can split them
No,
up
that's
into
great.
two groups of three.
Yeah, we can go over there.
Nobody.
We have a van. We have a city van.
Is it possible just to put out another reminder as we get closer to the
Absolutely.
next meeting? Just put that on the agenda, just so it's.
Absolutely. Yep. No problem.
Nobody wants you guys.
And then another thing I want to talk about. So again, at that water treatment plant with the budget dollars that approved, we actually are going to be starting that project. We've been reviewing drafts and documents that have come in for the project for approval, and they're expected to start out there in February. They're taking measurements this week, so I'm pretty excited to see that happen. Also, for the Scott Avenue water crossing, where we submitted the permit to Burlington Northern Railroad. So we received the initial permit from Burlington Northern Railroad, and so now what we need to do is we need to have some soil testing done and do a certificate of insurance. So we're working with the railroad to find out what type of soil samples they want and information they want for us to submit that permit application to them, and then what the timeline is for that. And then I'll come back to council and let you know the dollars that are needed for the permit submittal, the final permit submittal, and then what our timeline is to get that line underneath the railroad, because there's a timeline for that permit. So we'll go over that as well and what that cost is going to be. Let's see here. What else I want to talk about? So exit 21. I am in the process. I've been working with the CWCOG and WashDOT, and I'm in process of finalizing our request for qualifications to study exit 21, which will also include crossings at the railroad tracks, the number of crossings that go across our railroad tracks. It'll include CC Street and the bridge crossing, people coming in from Clark County. It'll include the where the library is and the WashDOT. Buckeye, thank you, Buckeye,
Lakeshore.
and Lakeshore. It'll include that intersection for the library going in there. So it's really going to it'll include people turning off to Pacific and people coming off Pacific, or turning on to Pacific and coming off. So we're getting ready to send that out and have the grant dollars to do that. So I'm excited to see what the study's coming back with. One of the items in the RFQ is to have the consultant come to council meetings and show actual solutions and what our cost is per dollar. So if they say, here's 3 solutions for exit 21, I want them to do a simulation so you can see how people will drive through the intersections based on their examples, and then also say, for these amount of dollars, this is what you're going to get. You're going to have increased traffic flow by this %. So people can say, what is our cost-benefit ratio analysis? And really you can see a driving activity on the slide so people can see, or on the projection so people can actually see what it's going to do for the city before we choose, and then give the citizens, we'll send out surveys, give the citizens a chance to decide what they want to see at exit 21 before we move forward. So we're working on that. So that's part of what the RFQ is going to say. We sent in our paperwork for the Transportation Improvement Board funding for our West Scott Avenue full depth reclamation, which you guys know that's going from Pacific Avenue all the way to Sherman, to the railroad tracks on the other side, including Garrick and Sherman. So we sent that in, so we'll be working on putting the engineering services out for that project to be able to tear that out, and then we'll be replacing an asbestos line that's under the road, or the side of the road at that time. We'll put it underneath the road, not asbestos, we'll replace it, but that's what we're working on. And then CDBG funds for the sidewalks that we're going to be doing in the ADA ramps within the city. We, with the reduced funds that we received, we sent out an update of what we're going to use the funds for. And the CDBG is right now doing an environmental review on that, so then we can go out to bid for that to start working on the sidewalks, which will be along Beechwood. It'll also be over by the, what's the center there at the end of Davidson, to the right before the railroad tracks?
Woodland Action Center.
The Woodland Action Center, we're going to extend that a little bit so it can go in for, to make it ADA accessible to go up the backside of their building.
Okay.
And then we're going to be looking at sidewalks on Park Street and then ADA ramps throughout the city. We repaired potholes on North Pekin, Guild, and West Scott Road. Now, again, these are potholes that your tire hits, not bumps in the road, because cold mix asphalt, if it's like just a little bit of skim of asphalt mixing, cold mix doesn't work on that. It has to actually be a hole, so we repaired the ones that we could on those roads. And street sweeping, we've been street sweeping as we can. The street sweepers continually break down. That's why we don't own one. So we've been borrowing from Cowlitz County, and we've been renting a street sweeper. This year, Cowlitz County is helping us out, but their street sweepers are breaking down as well. So we continue to try to sweep the streets, and we hope to be done with the street sweeping by the end of this week. Say that 10 times fast. Let's see. Met with Cowlitz County in regards to some asphalt repair projects and some more chip seal for this next year. Hoping to do twice as much as we did last year with the budget as far as chip sealing goes, and trying to pick out the worst roads to start with. We'll go from there. Horseshoe Lake, we have Christmas tree drop-offs right now from the 26th of December through January 31st. So if you guys have Christmas trees or know anybody who has a Christmas tree, have them drop it off there by the skate park there at Horseshoe Lake. And then we'll be chipping, and then we use those chips to put in other places throughout the city to help beautify the city and reutilize them. If you need chips, let us know. We can get you some chips. And we are taking, and this is something I already think we shared, we're taking signs down throughout the city at the parks, and we're repainting them to make the city look a little bit better. The new industrial park, the 400 acres, we actually received the scope of work from Gray and Osborne, who was a selected engineering firm, and they're getting ready to start their first phase. The contract is in review right now and will be going to the finance committee. And so once that's done, then we'll go ahead and get that contract signed. I'm almost done. No yawning. Okay, the other thing is the Frank L. and Arlene G. Price Foundation scholarship that we received. We have the engineered application to be able to put that flagpole on the City Hall building. And so we will be putting that out to bid this week, so we can actually now have the flagpole installed on the building. That took a lot of work to get that done for not a lot of money. So anyway, and I think that's all I have. Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
Mr. Frederick?
I noticed when you said exit 21, you used the word intersections, not roundabouts. I was just...
It might include roundabouts. We don't know. That's for them to determine and tell us what our cost-benefit ratio is. If they want to present a roundabout, if they want to present an intersection, whatever they present, it's up to them to present to us how to increase the traffic flow,
Right.
and or reduce the backup, and then let us decide which route we want to go.
Got it. Now, you mentioned banners.
Yes.
Do the banners have anything to do with the sign code? And where
Yeah.
are we at with the sign code, by the way?
Oh, sign code, no.
They're exempt because they are specifically by code exempt. So like those wreaths that go up at Christmas that are attached to the light standards, those are not considered signs, or they're exempt under the sign ordinance.
The banners that go across from the...
Oh, no comment.
I have a banner policy that is a draft, like I said, from 2002, that I'm revamping, and I'll make sure that it is routed for approval and comment.
But given the changes with the sign code, will that need to go through legal review first?
So the code does allow for city employees or for elected officials to place banners under certain circumstances. So I have seen those for years, even though I haven't been working here. So my assumption all along has been that at some point they were reviewed by code and approved. whether it requires an annual approval every time or a separate approval every time that banner is changed. I'm concerned that that's what the code says, but I know that the actual use of that banner space is a permitted use and on an ongoing basis.
And we're actually looking at what other cities are doing as well, if they're charging a fee to have people be able to advertise. So that's something that we're looking at as well. I do know that majority of other cities use their own public works to put up the banners and the pennants, which would be on like the streetlight poles. And we actually use Advantage Signs, and they have to pay for them to install and remove them. The banner applicant does, the person who wants to have their advertisement displayed. So we're kind of looking at that as well.
And the policy dictates.
The policy that has never been,
Right.
yeah.
So if we were going to sell, I'm trying to think in my mind of a banner I wouldn't want to see.
So we can't do, one of the things that are up there is you can't do anything religious, political. That is actually in the policy that was never approved. It's just been a draft, and that'll continue to stay that way because we can't have anything that affects the way the city views politics or religious matters. So that'll be out of there. It'll be more for events like baseball, Little League tryouts, or downtown walks, or Christmas.
Sure. But businesses, I'll wait until I see it.
Well, yeah, and there is a note in there that it talks about if it is a business, that it has to have, any logo has to be, can't use any more than 10% of the entire banner width. So it has to be small and inconspicuous is what it states in other banner policies and other municipalities as well.
Okay.
They won't be able to put their big logo up in Woodland like, hey, here's Woodland, but really it's Coca-Cola. You know, that wouldn't
I'll
be
wait
something
till I
like
see
that.
it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
And the sign code specifically exempts like public notification, like library events and Public Works Week and those kind of things are the things that are specifically exempt from the sign permit ordinance. Whether or not, if we were to do say for example, a book sale, that might not technically qualify under certain circumstances. So, sorry, I was trying to look up the code, but
I think just from my standpoint, I would be concerned with allowing certain businesses the ability to advertise through that process. I can think of a few businesses where I, as a citizen, would probably not want to have that across the street in a great big banner. I can think of probably right off the top of my head 2 businesses that you wouldn't want that.
It's supposed to be for events.
Right.
And not a business advertisement. So the whole purpose of the banner, you know, we have Public Works Week. We have, you know, Planners Day. And so that's the purpose of the banner. And it says, you know, we have the authority to say what goes up and what doesn't go up. And the city has the authority to put anything, advertisement for the city up before anybody else. So if we want to advertise Planners Day, and we're sponsoring a city, we can put that up. But it's not for business advertisement. It's for events that are going on within the city.
Isn't it more for nonprofit type things like Little League and
Yeah,
that kind
yeah,
of thing?
and it does
Not for
specifically
business,
say that
business.
it's yeah.
Well, is that going to be spelled out in the policy when you
It
complete
is spelled out in what I see there, and that's what I'll be relaying to you to review. But it does say right now, the policy that wasn't approved, it says any commercial or for-profit logos must be no larger than 10% of the banner. So they can only put a little teeny logo in this banner.
Right, but they can have a little logo and then have a huge message that maybe we don't want playing,
But we
across
have
our
the
skyline.
authority. To
Mr.
say
Boyce
whether
is trying to
go
break
up.
in.
So
You
there are,
have to be careful about this.
you know, there are limitations as to how you control the content of a sign. So
And you also have, I mean, because it's not only just controlling, but letting one person do it, you can have some biases in there, and you're very quickly into serious problems.
Right.
So something like a sign code is pretty good because there's a lot out there. You take a look at it, and it has built in some of these protections. But some things that seem like common sense are not.
This has been an issue, I know, on another, not to take us off topic here, but I think this
Too
has
late.
been a challenge of who do we allow special events in the park? I mean, who are we, because we say yes to everyone. And I can think of a few groups out there that I don't think should be in the park. But we don't have a policy that really dictates what events can be in the park. It seems to me that we have this, we allow everything.
Well, just
until we
because
don't
they're in
like
the
something.
park, though, doesn't mean that they'd be able to put a banner
No,
on.
we're talking two separate things. From the banner perspective,
Got it.
I think it's something that we need to be pretty careful.
Sure. I'm going to, when I finish reviewing this and compare it to other municipalities, and one of the things that I did in my past job was I controlled the banners for 6 states on all the streetlight poles for Pacific Corp. So what was able to go on there and what the banner said. So I think that I'll be pretty good to be able to put this policy together to make it fit for the city of Woodland. And then you guys can take a look at it, and if you want to add anything, it'll go to committee meetings before. If you guys want to add anything, or if you have any concerns or want to change anything, then you can make your suggestions, and then we can do it before you finally adopt it.
And it'll be reviewed by legal prior to council.
Absolutely.
No, God, no.
Yeah.
Why would we do that?
Just checking.
Any more questions for Ms. Jones to go off the topic?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. No problem.
Appreciate the detour.
That's what I'm here for.
All right. It is 8:27. We'll go into recess for 7 minutes. Okay, well, stop asking questions. I don't know what to tell you. Mr. Fredericks? No. All right, moving on to reports of advisory committees. Ms. Susan Humbird.
Charlie, listening to me now?
No, not yet.
Okay. Carlos Waukiakum Council of Governments met on December 28th. We approved the 2019 budget. We also approved the 911 Public Authority becoming a member of the Carlos Waukiakum Council of Governments. The 2045, I have trouble reading that, 2045 Regional Transportation Plan for the MPO was approved, and that's a pretty intense plan, so I'm not going to go into it, just it was approved. Economic Development District for Carlos Waukiakum counties was approved by the state, so we now have an EDD for Cowlitz and Waukiakum counties, which helps us get money for economic development. And the COG Board of Directors were nominated. The nominations were Dennis Weber for the chair and can't remember his name.
Because you knew I was going to ask.
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask, so I looked it up. And Peter Hellenberg from the city of Castle Rock is the vice chair. The meeting was adjourned, and we'll meet again on Thursday, January 24th at the Cowlitz County Event Center.
Thank you. Next. Downtown Woodland revitalization.
Okay, so we did not meet in December, but just to reiterate again, we will be having our meeting on January 22nd here at the council chambers at 5:30 prior to our council meeting. We want to get the public involved, so make sure that the public comes and you're all invited. We want to be able to keep the downtown Woodland revitalization going on so that we can do things like the movies in the park and those kinds of things. So that's Tuesday, January 22nd at 5:30 here in the council chambers.
All right. Questions for Ms. Humbird on either topic? We can meet later? No. Okay. All right. Seeing nothing. Moving on to consent items.
Move adoption of consent items A, B, and C.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Frederick, seconded by Councilmember Rounds. Will clerk please take the vote?
Councilmember Fredericks?
Aye.
Councilmember Benjamin?
Aye.
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Humbert?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
All right, consent items A, B, and C have passed. Moving on to action items. Action item E, 2019 Council Committee assignments and appointments. It says if needed, but I think we agreed that we were just going to adopt the current list as it stands.
Move to adopt the committees as stated.
Second.
Who wants it? Plaza. Moved by Councilmember Chapman, second by Councilmember Plaza. Councilmember Chapman.
Yeah, I have no where I'm at there. So everybody else is happy and content with the committee they're on, so.
All right. Councilmember Plaza.
It's the same thing, everybody's pretty much made it clear that they're happy and satisfied with where they're at, so no point in changing that.
Further discussion? Will the clerk please take the vote on action item E, 2019 council committee assignments and appointments?
Councilmember Plaza?
Aye.
Councilmember Benjamin?
Aye.
Councilmember Frederick?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Hubbard?
Aye.
All right, action item E has passed. The time is 8:41. City Council is now in workshop to discuss facilities. Mainly, we want to discuss the, 8:41, I said 8:41, didn't I? Yeah, okay. To talk about the location of the old fire station / City Hall on Davidson. Is that what's the address? 100 Davidson. Is currently semi-occupied with city materials at this time that are going for auction, and once those clear out, I'm asking City Council to take some action. We have a few different options that I believe need to be taken care of. So during this workshop, I'd like to discuss a few of those options. Number one, to sell the property and unload it from the city's holding. But currently, right now, City Council should be aware that we are using it as a facility to store our records on the top floor. So if City Council does decide to unload the property, we will need to find additional space, which we don't currently have for those records. The other option, and if City Council decides to go this route and keep the building but not lease it out, which is an option, and Ms. Coleman will be discussing that this evening, I would ask that City Council make funds available to demo the building if we're not going to lease it or sell the property. I don't think another empty building in downtown is what our historic area needs. We have enough space down there that is vacant and empty, so I want council to be aware that I will be seeking funding to demo the building if selling and leasing are not the options. Third option that I'd ask City Council to highly consider is a lease option. And Ms. Coleman, you're up.
Well, thank you, Mayor.
You bet, Ms. Coleman.
So when I went to look at the building, I thought, okay, do we let this building sit and do nothing with it and store all of our material for our files and records, and we actually store it on the second floor? Do we demolish it, which could cost an upwards of $200,000? Do we let it sit in the current condition, or do we lease it out? And if we lease it out, do we have that opportunity for revenue? And I know we're all hurting for revenue here within the city. The building, the way it sits right now, is not going to earn you top dollar for a lease. So you're not going to be able to get $2 to $5 a square foot, depending on the type of the building. It does have an elevator in it, which is great. It has ADA accessibility. It does have a multitude of restrooms in there, which is wonderful for lease options. The floors could be used for a multitude of different functions. I honestly believe, based on the property value, it would not be a good time to sell the building in the condition it's in. I think you'd have to put money into it in order to sell it for the top dollar that you'd want to get out of it. But it is a great opportunity for us to bring additional revenue into the city. And even though the revenue would be minimal at first, because of the condition the building's in, it would give people an opportunity to go in and be able to lease something with a vision and a dream that they might see that would do well in downtown Woodland, and also create occupancy for downtown Woodland that would help out other investors within the city that need to have downtown Woodlands buildings occupied in order to obtain bank loans. So right now, if you have a certain vacancy rate in your downtown area, you cannot obtain a bank loan to build in downtown Woodland for residential apartments, etc. So it's important for us to either take that building out and not let it sit, or to get it leased. I believe at a minimum we'd be able to lease that for us probably about $30,000 a year to start, which isn't very much. You're talking maybe 50 cents a square foot, but it also would allow us to keep the second floor and move our storage of our records to the top floor, and secure that for storage, but also earn revenue for the city. So if it was my opinion, I would encourage the council to advertise the spaces for lease, and it would be leased out where they build it to their standards of what they envision and they see, not for us to build it out. I also recommend that maybe the first year, the least income that we receive, we put back into the building. If we have a roof leak that needs to be repaired, if we need toilets that need to be repaired, sewer lines, etc., that we put that money back in the building possibly the first year, and then every year thereafter, then we're going to have additional revenue if we do a lease that maybe starts out at 50 cents a square foot, and then as improvements get made and the building increases in value, that lease can go up over a period of time, creating additional revenue for the city. But based on how that's built out and the potential that that has in the location that's right as you enter downtown and the view that it has of the water, I would recommend that we try to lease the space. That's my recommendation based on my knowledge.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Benjamin.
So if we lease that space and we're storing our stuff on the upper floor, we'd be leasing the downstairs portion as well?
That's correct. We would lease, so there's three floors. So we have our stuff on the second floor, so we'd move our stuff to the top floor. We'd secure the area that we would need for our record storage, but they would have access to that outside of that, and we'd have a separate entryway. There's three or four different entries into that building, so we could create it where we had access during, the daylight hours and work something out where we have a badge card access or something. And that would be part of the lease.
Mr. Boyce.
And one issue might be on the third floor storing the records, the elevator does not go to the third floor. So that would
There's a
be
window.
something we have to.
Oh.
And a rope.
With a dumb
Yeah.
elevator on the outside.
Yeah.
Sure.
But we could figure something out is what I'm saying. We'd figure something out to be able to get the records accessible, or we have a certain spot maybe on the first floor, the old jail cell or something that they didn't have. It just depends on what the clerk treasurer's office needs, but we could always figure something out.
Speaking of the jail cell, did that ever get taken
We're
down?
working on that.
That's little, Tracy.
Yeah, I know.
We have way more records than those.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying, depending on what they need, we can make it work.
Mr. Plaza? No?
Yeah, just
Oh,
a real quick
oh.
question. I might be mistaken, but from what I remember right, one of the reasons why the police department and the fire department moved out of that building was because it was deemed to be not habitable, and that the mold that was in the building was something that would cost more to fix than was worth the cost of the building. So if we were to lease that out, what would be the liability to us as far as?
Well, that would be something that would be part of the lease agreement as far as make them aware of what we're aware of in the building, and that would be something that we'd have to mitigate with them to say, here's what the building contains. Is this something you want to? Is this something that you want to take on? And the reason why I say that is the price per square foot that we can lease it out at is so minimal that people are willing to take that chance for their dream that they have. And we've had a lot of people approach us to say, hey, we want to lease something out. They don't have a lot of money initially, but they're willing to sign a long-term lease knowing that they can put money into it every single year. So it'd be something that, like I said, if we're getting a lease for the first year, we take that money, put it back into it. But it would be something that we'd have to investigate and do a contract together and work with our attorney to see what works best for everybody.
You do have people interested in it, though.
Yes, we do.
How many? Two?
Three.
Three. Okay. With some really fantastic ideas.
Really fantastic ideas.
Ms. Frederick.
Are any of those folks interested in a public-private partnership where possibly we could explore options for a city hall in work in conjunction with what they would want to do and how to make that work?
Put our city hall in there,
Maybe.
in that building? I don't believe there's enough room in that building.
I
sorry.
guess from my standpoint, I'm advocating for tearing it down and starting over because I don't think it's a safe building. But I'd be interested if any of those folks have any desire to do some sort of public-private partnership that would, it's kind of outside the box. Either the city owns it or the city doesn't own it and leases, which would help obviously with a loan from that standpoint if they had somebody who would be willing to sign a long-term lease. And then as far as the records go, there's several companies that do records. Iron Gate Storage is one of them where they will manage the retention schedule, the whole 9 yards. Yes, there's some money involved with that, but from a standpoint of what the city has as far as that goes, I don't know if we've ever gone out to bid for that type of service, what that would cost.
I don't know if we have
for
Mary,
them
do
to
you know the
manage
answer to that?
the records.
Have got bids in the past for doing some storage and also some scanning. additional scanning.
There's document management companies that could manage that, but I just don't know
Right.
what the city has as far as a understanding of any maybe state laws that are required on how they have to be stored. It would seem to me that you'd have better storage off-site. Seems to me like that would be where they're currently at would be a fire hazard of losing the records. But I'd be interested in understanding if there are any public-private options that we could explore. If anybody's interested in that, I agree. I think it has given me it has an awesome view, and given something that's how it's laid out could be a pretty awesome project.
It has a great potential.
It really does.
And somebody who might not have the fund availability to lease it for a high dollar per square foot for the location and the view,
Yeah.
would be willing to go into a smaller dollar, knowing that as they're building their business, they'd be gaining additional revenue and be able to pay for the improvements that would be needed in the building to keep the lease amount low. And then once it's done for a certain period of time, then we can increase our lease amount based on what the dollar value of what that building would be worth. It would also give us the opportunity to be able to solicit more business downtown, which would also increase the value of that building on the location.
If done right, I think it has the ability to be a magnet for downtown. to
Absolutely, I
draw.
agree with you.
Given its
Yep.
current state, I find it extremely, I just don't think it's a viable in its current state
Right.
to bring in what it is that,
Well, that's why I'm saying it's not worth $5 a square foot. It's more like 50 cents a square foot.
right.
For someone that has a dream to do even like a restaurant, because it's the
They
a
can't
fire
get $50 a square foot,
They can't
and we
do
have
that.
7,000 square feet, and that's, like
and
I
they
said,
know going
30,000
in,
a
there's
year.
all of these issues, and they're
Right.
still willing to pay that, and then we get it fixed a little bit each time. I think it's kind of exciting.
It's an option. I don't think demolition is the right idea, because then you
Not
have to find
either.
somebody to come in and buy the land. You have to pay a couple $100,000 to demolish it, and then you have to try to find somebody to build something there. And then it just takes away what's gonna go there and who's gonna buy the land, and then your land isn't even worth as much, because now you don't even have a building on it. Now you have just bare land.
And without any advertisement, we have 3 people who are interested in that building as it stands.
I guess I'd like to understand what the options are
Yeah.
more, and in writing, there was nothing, I was not prepared to have this discussion this evening because there was nothing added to the agenda about what facilities we were talking about. So I wasn't aware of what we were talking about. So
Right.
having those options presented and discussed, I know that's what this is technically, but I don't know. I just want to make sure
I'm looking
that
for revenue.
this is something that, if done right,
Yeah.
has the potential to be a big deal. But I've seen us kind of not do things the way they could be done.
But we haven't always had Tracy on board.
Oh, yeah. Or Travis.
I'd like to understand a private discussion with you is just to understand your vision and what your thoughts are on it, I think would be helpful for me.
Okay.
Mr. Plaza?
One more question, quick. Just so liability-wise, we rent this place or lease this place out for 50 cents a square foot. People know, what the history of the building is and what threats, I guess, are in the building, and they move in. Due to, the spores and everything else that are in there, if somebody comes down with something or has an asthma-related mold, induced attack of some sort, how are we protected from these, whoever leases the building, saying the city was well aware that this stuff was in there and my guy got sick, so we're going to stick it to the city?
Well, I think the first and foremost, is there's never been a formal inspection of the building to really see if there's mold or mildew or spores that are in the building. There's not been a report on it. So if there hasn't been a report on it, then there's nobody that said, you can smell mold when you go into somebody's house, but that doesn't mean that it has mold spores growing in there that's going to be harmful to your health. So I think that that would be something that we'd have to have done, is have it tested and see what's in there before we make any assumptions that it does have a mold problem. Just because something smells like mold doesn't mean that there's a mold spore issue that would make somebody sick. So that's the first thing I want to say. So that would be something that we would have to look at before we would lease it out and make it a winner.
Okay.
Or
Yeah,
before
well-
we even make a decision.
Yeah, it was my understanding that an inspection or something had been done years ago before the police department moved out, and that's one of the things that we
The fire
put out
department or the
there.
police department?
The police department. That
Go
we
ahead,
put
Mary.
out there in order to justify getting the funding for a new police department.
Mrs.
Am I wrong?
Mrs. Rip?
So we had some complaints, we had some moisture issues, and we have some bubbling in the walls from the moisture that came through the cement block wall. Now, there were some isolated areas, one of them being in the elevator shaft, and one isolated area in the police department. That isn't to say that they came in and they did some sealing on the outside of the building, they did some roof repairs, and so after that, I don't know what the situation is.
Okay.
But
So,
I can-
like Tracy said,
So
so it
there was
wasn't
there was
an in-depth inspection
Yeah,
or
so there was a
anything.
couple areas that were identified that
Okay.
would need to be updated and re-inspected.
Well, and that's the thing too, is, I mean, you can walk in there and you can see there's crack in the cinder block in the mortar. So anytime you have crack, whether you have a basement in your house and you have crack in there, you have to seal it. So it'd be the same concept, make sure the roof doesn't leak, make sure that the mortar is sealed, or it's remortared, make sure that you seal the walls if it needs to be done. So that's something that needs to be looked at, but I don't believe that there is that problem, because we've been having people go in and out of there for how many years?
Yeah.
We had the fire department in there, police, and well, like I said, while it smells like that, doesn't mean that it does have an odor in there. I'm not going to say it doesn't, because when I walk in there, I don't like the smell of it, but something that can be fixed. It doesn't mean that it's a hazard to anybody.
No, this is the information I had
Yeah.
received was that
Sure.
basically we were just one step away from getting condemned. And so that's the information I was going off of tonight.
Sure.
So apparently I was misinformed.
Sure.
Further thoughts or comments?
Are we making a decision on this tonight or just talking?
No, you're just talking about it. Looking for some direction. Yes, we're deciding right now. No.
Well, I like the idea of being able to get some revenue off of it, and if there's somebody willing to lease it, but knowing what they're getting into, I'm all for it myself.
Yeah, if the future tenants are willing to make the improvements to the building, that makes it a viable place for development, that's a solution to the problem. Assuming that that's all an acceptable thing, that there isn't some kind of mold contamination prohibiting
Well, I guess I'll be the one. I'd like to see more of a long-term vision of what are we going to do with what is our plan for this. Short-sighted thinking, I'm not saying short-sighted thinking, it seems to me that just, hey, we're gonna lease this, how long is that gonna happen for, what are we gonna do with the proceeds, because I think there's a lot that needs to go into it. I don't wanna shortchange this, and I have a feeling that could be a pretty awesome spot. And I guess from my standpoint, I would like to explore, and we've done this before, we did it with the, I know Councilmember Humbert probably remembers this with the karate, is it still karate? I don't even know if it's karate anymore. The old bank building, there was a proposal, that's right. There was a proposal to do a public-private partnership there at one point that we looked at with, I want to say the Kolf family. So it is certainly something that is doable where they were willing to put in the investment for us, and if we were willing to sign a long-term lease.
But that didn't happen because we didn't all agree.
It didn't pencil out because we didn't have agreement on council, and so, but those types of options, I think, are something that should be explored, and it concerns me that I don't know what the vision is, and maybe there's outside sources, things that are going on that I just don't know, that I would like to have an understanding of further. Well, I should know some.
No, you do know some, you wanna lease it. And I think that that's what we're doing tonight. This is just, I think, leasing it and knowing that there's 3 people that would even be interested in doing it as it stands is pretty exciting. So I think we need to go to the next step now, and all of the things that you were talking about. What is it? How are we going to do this? What is it gonna look like? What kind of an agreement are we gonna put together? What are we gonna do with the money? I would thought that putting the money back in the first year is a good idea, maybe even the second year, but then maybe we take the money and do something else. There's a lot of more steps, but this is the first one, and we can't do any of the rest of it until we get the first one done.
Well, I think something we have to think of as well is that not only that if we are going to lease it, we have to advertise it for lease because it's a public building. So if we advertise it for lease, who knows what we're going to get after that? We just have people that have approached us privately to say, hey, are you interested in leasing that building? So when you actually have the interest in it and you advertise for it, and then they put in their bid and say, yes, we want to lease it, we want to do this, then it comes to council and say, this is who we want to lease to. And this is their vision. So we could get 15 more people that are interested in it. We don't know that yet.
Mr.
Could be a bidding war.
Mr. Chapman.
I like the sparkle in Tracy's eyes. That's when she lights up about this kind of stuff and everything. But
I see revenue.
Yeah, well that. And
I see roads being done.
But yeah, but also what I see it's the city opening up and being more business friendly.
Yes.
Is the way I'm looking at it too. Just throw it out there.
Rough night. Rough night. Thank you, Mr. Chapman. Any further discussion? Oh.
It's an awesome spot.
It is.
It is.
And we talk about revitalizing the downtown core.
What a great place to start.
Yep. I guess there might be a difference of opinion on how we do that, but that's okay.
And that's okay.
I'm glad we don't all agree.
That's why we have council.
Makes it more fun.
All right. Anything else? Any marching orders or anything besides the options being brought forward and possibly a study, it sounds like, of the building and its habitable conditions? Okay.
Step.
Okay. And a further presentation for Mr. Fredericks privately, it sounds like.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Well, just prior to it coming back, if it's going to come back to council and show up as an action item.
Well, it showed up in committee.
I hope it shows up in committee first. I don't know which one. I don't know if we have a facilities committee anymore.
General government.
Okay.
I would think is where it would go.
Well,
right?
it can come to the finance committee. We'd love to have it.
Well, it went to Public Works.
Went to Public Works, and we all
Okay.
agreed.
100% agreement in Public Works.
Yes.
To look forward, what would this involve, that rather than tear it down, we wanted to look at the lease first.
Okay. We'll look at the financial aspect of it.
Yes,
in
we
the
will.
Finance.
I'm on it, man.
It'll be fun.
Yay.
Bring your calculator.
Look forward to it. I will. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? No? Okay. Mr. Boyce, thoughts? Anything? No?
No, it's the first step, but we need to be careful how we do this. I agree with Mr. Fredericks that it could be a great cornerstone for the whole downtown area, and it's not something to take lightly.
Absolutely. All right. Why you gotta agree with Mr. Fredericks?
I think that we all agree.
No, I know.
I'm up to one.
He's over here going, I got one person.
I got one person. Tough crowd.
It's a rough crowd tonight. All right, it's 9:05. Back in session. We have now come to the portion of the agenda for adjournment.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Or any opposed? 9:05.
You're supposed to get up and then do it, because then you go down and you go out of your squat.
I don't think so. Wonder.
Well played. Well played.
Yeah, I was just before.